No problems in supporting this bill. Madam.
I call Gareth Hughes.
Kia ora, Madam Speaker. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. I rise to support this legislation. When you look at the last time New Zealand had a fundamental look at our friendly societies and credit union legislation, it was all the way back in the past in 1982. I mean, Muldoon was stalking this House. His wage and price freeze was stalking the country. The the All Whites were at the World Cup finals in Spain, and I just quickly checked what New Zealanders were listening to back then, and the top single back then was Beautiful Woman by Toots and the Maytals. Never heard of them before, but they must have been good. We saw David Bowie up there, Dixie's Midnight Runners, Prince Tuiteka was sixth, and Madam Speaker, the world and New Zealand has changed since 1982, and I commend the member for moving to modernise our friendly societies and credit union legislation. Because as the member has pointed out, credit unions, up to this point as we passed this legislation, were unable to incorporate, to lend to small or medium-sized enterprises. Currently, loans had to be passed through a member on to a business. They couldn't incorporate. They had to have internal trustees to hold property and conduct business. This wasn't in line with the wider financial sector. And in fact, for those 194,000 credit union members we know we have in New Zealand, they weren't operating on a level playing field. So look, the Green Party supported this all through the stages. It's in our policy to support legislation such as this. We know it was improved in the Select Committee process, and I acknowledge those who submitted, those who participated. Unfortunately, I wasn't fortunate enough to be on the Select Committee for that process, but I know there was that huge discussion of mutuality, which has been canvassed in this debate and previous ones. But you just got to stop and think what a different country we would have if more companies, entities operate on the process of mutuality instead of competition red and tooth and claw as many of our corporate entities do. So I want to once again congratulate the member. It's a good spirit of a Members' Bill introduced to this House, a reasonable common sense proposal to fix what I think many members would think is an oddity, just that the laws hadn't caught up to modernise those 82 laws, and it's now being passed in a unanimous fashion. While we're doing this, we also need to have a conversation of our wider banking sector, noting the almost $5 billion in profits we saw basically sent across the ditch. While we modernise our financial services legislation, we also need to keep an eye on the wider sector as we modernise this to protect Kiwi markets, to protect Kiwi bank accounts. But look, we're very happy to support this very sensible, reasonable and effective legislation.
I understand this is a split call. I call Nicola Willis.
That's right. I rise to speak